The air hung heavy with anticipation as whispers echoed through the crowd. "Do you feel it? Do you feel it?" They were talking about Moses, not the man who parted the Red Sea, but a woman who was even more extraordinary. Her name was Moses, but you could call her general, captain, or even lady. To the hundreds of enslaved people she led to freedom, she was their liberator, a beacon of hope in the darkest hours of their lives. Born into slavery, she had known only hardship, back-breaking work, and the constant threat of being sold away. But when opportunity knocked, she didn't hesitate. She seized it with both hands and transformed not only her life, but the lives of hundreds of others. This is her story. It all began in 1849 when Moses learned that her owner was planning to sell her to Georgia. The mere thought of being ripped away from everything she knew filled her with dread. It meant separation from her family and the possibility of never seeing them again. But it also meant facing the horrors of an unfamiliar place, the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Fear tightened its grip around her heart like an icy hand. But then something remarkable happened. While attending a religious service, she heard a voice that changed everything. It spoke of a haven where slavery was abolished and people of color were treated as equals. That's how Moses discovered the Underground Railroad, a network of secret routes and safe houses used by enslaved people to escape to freedom in the North. At first, the journey seemed too daunting. How could she, a young, unschooled slave, navigate this perilous route? But as time went on, the desire for freedom grew stronger within her, eclipsing her fear. So when news came that her owner's plans had changed and she would be sold after all, Moses knew what she had to do. That night, under the cloak of darkness, she slipped out of her shackles and vanished into the darkness, joining a group of fellow slaves who were also escaping. Together, they embarked on a harrowing journey northwards, guided by the North Star, their only companion. The Underground Railroad wasn't just a literal train. It was a metaphor for the secret routes and safe houses used by enslaved people to escape to freedom in the North. These routes were like threads woven into the fabric of the time, connecting acts of courage and kindness across states. The conductors of this Underground Railroad weren't paid in money, but in the currency of compassion and hope. They were everyday people who put their own safety at risk to help others escape the chains of slavery. Each stop on this route was a testament to human resilience and the yearning for liberty. Some houses offered just a meal and a place to rest, while others provided medical aid and clothing. There were even churches that opened their doors and hearts to those seeking refuge. Every house was a risk, every mile a challenge. But the goal, freedom, kept the travelers moving forward. Meanwhile, as Moses made her way along the Underground Railroad, the relentless pursuit of slavery loomed over her like a dark cloud. If caught, she would be returned to her owner and perhaps face even harsher treatment. The risks were immense, but her determination was unyielding. At each stop along her journey, she placed her fate in the hands of strangers, hoping they would offer her the aid and protection she desperately needed. And as she moved closer to freedom, the urgency to keep moving increased. She couldn't afford to rest, to be seen, or to give away her location through any sound. She had to stay hidden, always on the move, until she reached a place where the chains of slavery could never touch her again. It was a perilous journey fraught with danger and uncertainty, a test of endurance and faith. But as the days turned into weeks, so did Moses's resolve. She pressed on, driven by the dream of a better life, a life free from the shackles of slavery. As we continue our journey with Moses, it's important to understand the real-life context that shaped her journey. The Underground Railroad wasn't just a whimsical idea. It was a lifeline for thousands of enslaved people. People like Moses who dared to dream of freedom, aided by abolitionists who risked their own security to help others. This was a time when slavery was still legal in many parts of the United States. Enslaved people were considered property and could be bought, sold, and inherited like any other object. The mere act of running away could result in being captured and returned to the enslaver, So the Underground Railroad became a secret network of resistance. Now, let's return to our story. After a grueling journey of 9 months and covering over 900 miles, Moses finally set foot in Philadelphia. It was September 1850, and she had successfully escaped the clutches of slavery. But this was just the beginning. News of her daring escape spread like wildfire, and soon she was helping others make the journey to freedom. In 1851, she returned to Maryland and, under the cover of darkness, guided 11 enslaved people to freedom in Philadelphia. Realizing that this became her calling, she dedicated her life to leading enslaved people to liberty. Over the next decade, she made 13 such trips, each one fraught with danger and uncertainty. With each successful mission, her reputation grew. Enslaved people started calling her Moses because, like the biblical figure, she was guiding them out of bondage. This nickname stuck. In fact, even today, she's widely referred to as Moses. But why? What made her take such huge risks? It's simple. She had seen firsthand the brutality of slavery. She understood the pain, the fear, and the longing for freedom that burned brightly within the hearts of enslaved people. It was this empathy, this deep understanding of what it meant to be trapped in a life of servitude that fueled her actions. She saw in each enslaved person a reflection of herself, and in their eyes, she saw a glimmer of hope, a hope that she was determined to nurture and lead to fruition. Her methods were ingenious and often daring. She used disguises, false identities, and secret routes to evade slave catchers and ensure the safety of her group. Sometimes she relied on the kindness of strangers, reaching out to abolitionists and sympathetic individuals who could offer shelter and support along the way. Planning these missions was no easy feat. It required an intimate knowledge of the terrain, an understanding of local laws, and, most importantly, an ability to read the faces of people to anticipate potential threats. But Moses was equal to the task. Her courage and determination knew no bounds. As her missions grew more daring, so did the risks. The Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 made it a crime to help runaway slaves and offered hefty rewards for their return. This meant that anyone who aided Moses and her groups could face severe legal repercussions. Yet, she didn't falter. She understood that each life she touched had value and was worth fighting for. However, not everyone supported her actions. Many saw her as a troublemaker, a disruptor of the social order. But Moses didn't let the naysayers get to her. She was driven by an inner strength, a moral compass that pointed her towards freedom and equality. Her story serves as a reminder that one person's fight can spark a movement, that one person's bravery can pave the way for many. Over the years, she continued to lead enslaved people to freedom, each journey etching another chapter of bravery and resilience into her story. But her impact went beyond the Underground Railroad. She was a spy for the Union Army during the Civil War, gathering intelligence and even leading a raid that freed more than 700 enslaved people. After the war, she worked tirelessly for women's suffrage, knowing that true freedom meant having a voice in shaping one's own destiny. As the years passed, Moses' health began to fail, but until her eyesight dimmed and her steps slowed, she remained a symbol of hope and an icon of the fight for equality. Even when her strength began to fade, her spirit didn't. She lived a full life, passing away peacefully in 1913, but her legacy continued to live on. Her story is a testament to the power of one person, his courage to inspire and change the world. Moses showed us that bravery isn't the absence of fear, but the presence of hope. Hope that drives us to act despite the odds, to fight for what's right even when the path ahead seems dark and uncertain. She was a true trailblazer, a pioneer who dared to dream of a better world and worked tirelessly to make it a reality. Her life and work continue to serve as a beacon of inspiration for generations to come. We may never know the full extent of her impact, the countless lives she touched, the families she reunited, or the hearts she inspired. But we do know that she left an indelible mark on history. She showed us that one person with courage and faith can light the way for hundreds to freedom. So remember the story of Moses. Let her legacy be a guiding light, illuminating our path towards justice, equality, and freedom. Let her story remind you that you have the power to make a difference, no matter how small you might think your actions are. For in the words of the great Mahatma Gandhi, be the change you wish to see in the world. Thank you.